Well, I'm here with Richard Everett, actor, playwright, screenwriter. He's appeared in the West End and at Broadway with such people that we would know as Anthony Hopkins, Derek Jacobi, Robert Powell, Gordon Jackson. Even appeared in a movie with Vincent Price, a horror movie, nonetheless. Yes, he's built and run his own theatre, for goodness sake. Something we'd all and helped write with set up Riding Lights. Many of you would have heard of that with Murray Watts, and you've done so much. You've written for Penelope Keith. We were just seeing she's just recently got a damehood.
Yes,
you've done so much, so many varied things. Why this now? Why Soundbites? What
Soundbites is really a very natural kind of evolution. Over the years, I've just been asked by churches and groups and things to write pieces for specific seasonal occasions in the church year, and like Christmas and Easter and Mother's Day and so on. And there came a point when I realised I had a bit of a drawer full of them, really. And so I was talking to Tony Collins at Monarch Books, which is part of Lion Hudson, and we suddenly realised that probably there might be a place for a bit of a kind of collection of pieces which would cover most of the seasons throughout the year. In Soundbites, what I've tried to do is to accompany some of the sketches with personal reflections and thoughts on why I wrote them. Most of these pieces can be done with 5-10 minutes notice by people who can read competently. They work like mini radio plays.
In this current current atmosphere of non-faith, of disbelief, of Richard Dawkins saying, you mention even in the beginning of the book, in the foreword, you talk about your take on creation. Even it's very controversial. Tell us about that.
Well, okay. I mean, the thing about there are a couple of pieces on creation itself. It's really a personal position. I'm not a theologian. I'm not an academic, and I don't claim to be any of those things. What I am is a script writer, a playwright, a storyteller. Those are the things that I've been doing for however many years, 30, 40 years now.
Must be at least 60.
Okay, steady. What interests me is the journey, and I know that the problem is we live in an age where the journey is become such a cliche. What I do as a writer is, and there are certain similarities, and I touch on this a little bit in the introduction. A scientist sets off from a certain position and says, well, I wonder if this is true, and then sets off on the basis that it might be true to explore it.
And to prove it.
And then ending up at a place where he's so convinced by it that he's proved, that as far as he's concerned, or she is concerned, it's proven. It requires an act of faith. But if I can just say, one of the things that I enjoy doing, and one of the things that is the role of the writer, and it's very similar to the scientist, is that I ask those questions that is what writing to me is about. I often don't know where I'm going to end up when I start to write something.
So tell us some of these characters, Ricky, that you've got. Who can we hope to meet in this book?
Well, we've got. I mean, it was interesting when book came through from the printers, and I started to look through what I'd written. I was actually kind of quite intrigued at the cross section we've got. I mean, first of all, we've got the senior angel and a junior angel, and the junior angel trying to explain to the senior angel that the Bethlehem Hilton was booked. You've got the fairy and the snowman hanging off a Christmas tree trying to explain to each other what on earth they're doing there. You've got the chauffeurs of the wise men checking out the Bethlehem A to Z. You've got the star telling its own story. I've turned the star into a character. In Easter, you've got you've got a Lent inspector. You've got a guy, because Easter covers Lent and Easter and the whole Easter weekend. You've got a guy turning up from the KGB, which is the Keeping God in His Box. It's a government department. One other I've got to mention because is Jethro and Miriam.
Yes.
Jethro and Miriam, who are the couple who their prized possession is a donkey, and Jethro has to explain to Miriam that actually he's lent it to some guys and Miriam is furious. So we suddenly enter the whole kind of Palm Sunday experience through a major domestic scene between two couples. That's the kind of thing I love doing.
You've written, Mr. Everett, about sex. Could you explain?
Oh, right. Yes. Well, it's a sketch in Soundbites, which is called Yes, Father. And it was prompted by the fact, it just occurred to me that people will more easily discuss their sex life than they will talk about what they believe. They're less embarrassed about talking about their recent sexual conquests than they...
So you're saying faith is taboo?
Very much so. People get very awkward. You try bringing that up at a dinner party, or socially.
Yeah, so, like you're then you conservative.
Well, you'll empty the room
very
quickly if you start talking about what you believe. But now, look, I don't want to turn it the other way and say, the one thing Christians you can never talk about is sex. And it's a sketch which illustrates how awkward a father can find it to talk to his son about what he believes. And I've just simply juxtaposed sex and God. I did a movie called Cry of the Banshee, and it was starring Vincent Price. And Vince, he was the most delightful man. In this scene, I had to attack him. There was a lot of preparation because of all the food and everything. Eventually, we turn over, camera, action, and I did it. And actually, what was supposed to happen was that at the point at which I went at him with a knife, he turned the knife to me and stabbed me instead. Instead of which, I went towards him, grabbed him by the scruff of the neck, by the sort of lapels he was wearing, and at the moment at which I thought he was supposed to stab me, he simply turned to the camera and he said, "This is my 100th motion picture." And he was such a big star that, of course, he could get away with it. And the whole place just fell about laughing.
Well, it's been great talking to you, Richard, about this. This your new book, Soundbites. I heartily recommend it, and I hope that people use it, read it, experience it, and that people connect with it, which I know I have. Thanks so much.
They might even buy it.
They might even buy it.